The predictions about the catastrophe
As another
that is
therapy
the
for Ebola
coronavirus
is already being
get more
tested on
ominous
Americans
by
with
the day.
COVID-19,
The World
but it's
Health
still
Organization
unclear when
says
any of these treatments will be
moments
widely
ago, the State Department raised the travel advisory to the highest level, to level 4 in its office.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top expert on infectious diseases.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Dave and Trish. Back to the Dave and Trish Show, the Thursday version of our webinars. So thank you, everybody, for joining us again today, and for another edition of the next webinar in the Coronavirus Resources for Printers webinar series. So we'll be underway shortly. We always have, well, no shortage of information to share, and as Trish and I were talking about that, we are going to be ready to dive in soon. We're going to be for today, and we're going to be talking about order forms, and we'll get into those details shortly. But a few of those housekeeping items, I just want to remind everybody that this webinar is being recorded, and on the screen here you see coronavirusresourcesforprinters.com. Once we're done with today's webinar, it will be rolled into the ongoing list of webinars that keep showing up here. And right now we have last Tuesday's webinar in the top spot. If you missed that one, boy, I'd encourage you to go back and take a look at that one. We had Kelly Malazzi back for the second time for our webinar series, and the Tuesday one that's kind of focused on the bigger picture for all printers versus today's webinar, the Thursday webinar, where we dial in a little bit tighter to our subscribers for marketing ideas for printers. So a couple of things there. Go back if you have not already seen it, watch Kelly's webinar. She had a lot of good information about LinkedIn. That was a topic that was prompted by the follow-up to one of our previous webinars, and just a lot of fun visiting with Kelly and a lot of good information. And so do that, and know that today's webinar will roll into this position that you see here. And oh, Trish, did you hear that?
I did not.
If you hear it in the distance, I hear it sounds like engines revving, and that's where we're at. I really am just getting the sense that there's a lot of excitement starting to build, and we're all getting through this whole coronavirus stuff yet together. But the gas is getting put in and the engines are starting to rev. I'm just sensing from a lot of printers that we're getting there. And so with that said, right on this spot here in this green area, we have these banners, and they have a little bit of a shelf life. The message there is we are open for business, that your customers can use these banners. You can print them for your customers to remind people that you're open for business. There's a new mentality starting to come up here, and that's that engine revving sound, where people are going to start to get that message out that we are reopening for business. For the ones that are closed, the ones that weren't open the whole time, that they're getting ready to reopen, and you can help generate that excitement for them. For us, we are going to help with that just the same way that we did with this banners. There's a new series coming out now for the reopening. And so for our marketing ideas for printers website subscribers, you're going to see those roll into your websites soon, and that's going to start rolling out. I believe tomorrow night. Some of you will start to see those, and I suspect by early next week, by the end of Monday, I suspect all of our subscribers will have the new order forms and the new banners. For those of you that have designed it, you'll have those attached as well, and that will be ready to go. Much the same way we did with these first banner series, you can expect this new reopening banner series to appear the same way. We'll have more about that to recap that, and you can go back to the video archives, see how that was handled for this banner series, and the same idea will be in place for you there. And I think, Trish, if you scroll down, it was at episode, let's see if we can just dial that in really quick here. Episode 12, there you go. So same process that we followed in episode 12 to release the first round of banners. You can expect to see those next ones coming too. Wow, I said a whole lot more than I was going to say about that. Let's get going here. Let's see, any other housekeeping items? I guess just to remind you that we will have that survey afterwards. That's where we get a lot of those topics. But enough of me talking. Trish, let's cut over to you and let's talk about order forms.
Sounds good, Dave. Thank you again for the excellent introductions that you do. What we're going to talk about today, the first topic that I'm going to go over, we've had a few inquiries in our recent webinars, on our Thursday webinars, about the topic of order forms, and more importantly, custom order forms. So what I was going to do is go through setting up an order form from scratch, the different things you can add, how it can look, and so forth. And then we'll see if we have enough time to keep tiptoeing into some other areas that, if we have time, that we want to go through. And while I'm mentioning order forms, this is one way, creating custom order forms, that you could market special packages or sales, such as you have graduation bundles. We've seen our printers using or putting out their graduation signs, floor signs. There's all different things that can be done. Order forms is just one way that can be part of a marketing package. So what I'm going to do is, if you're on the front end of your website, you can click next underneath your name, the control center. And then in the back end here, you would select order forms. And whether you click order forms under public order forms, or if you go under reorder forms library and create a new product, really the editor to create an order form is pretty much the same. But I'm going to focus on public order forms for this webinar here. So under the order forms tab, right now you're just going to see a list of all your public order forms, whether they're turned on or not. I'm simply going to select create new order form. And what this brings up is the order form editor. And on the left are the different tabs that are comprised of the order form. I'm going to focus on product info and questions and answers. These other tabs, we'll see if I get to them, but it would just be a high level. But I guess the meat and potatoes of the order form, the way I see it, is questions and answers. And then if you have advanced pricing, the pricing tab is where you can do your pricing. But I'm going to start.
Pause you there just for a second, because one thing I forgot to do is remind people, be interactive, ask the questions. One of those questions did come in, and at the right time, Trish, you can answer it. I'll just put it out there now, but I think it'll flow into where you're going. Even though you're focusing on the public order forms, Cindy asks, how can I be sure that an item of a customer's item doesn't show publicly? She says, I think I still have that going on. So I think that's more of a reorder forms library question. But if you can weave that in and about keeping an item from not showing publicly into this conversation, that might be helpful too. And
thank you, Dave.
Encourage everyone, keep those questions coming.
Yep. So really, and that might be able to answer it right off the bat. Under this product info tab, there's a gray bar that says this is a public order form. If you were creating a private reorder form, it would say this is a private reorder form. And it might say a little bit different, but right at the top of every order form, it will tell you whether it's public or if it's private. So that's one way that you can tell. Another way that you can tell it's a private order form is there's a few additional tabs on the left, and one of them is called customers. That's another indication that the order form you're editing is considered a private order form. So with that in mind, again, this says this is a public order form. It's inactive, so I have not turned it on, and I would not do so until I was complete with this. So it would not show up on your website. For the purposes of public order form, I think I'm going to call this graduation signs. Again, the name, what you feel is best to convey to your print buyers what this product does. It could be graduation signs, 2020 graduation signs, whatever you feel would be appropriate. The description here, this would be a description. It appears above the order form, kind of near the top, and I'll view this as we go through. If you want to leave it blank, then the default category text will show up. Now, I have not assigned a category yet, and I'll get to that. I've seen people say this is a 18 by 24 inch sign with H stakes as an example. Again, this is for you to put in here what you need to tell your print buyers, the description if need be, what it is, what does it do, as much or as little that you want to put in here, but we encourage you to use that to make sure that they're not confused and they know what it is that they're ordering. I'm just going to put in the size includes H stakes as an example, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. But again, you can use this little editor here, bold, italics, bullets, numbering, if you want to format it and so forth. So there's some things that you can do in here in the description of the order form. Down here is the category. Now, I believe I have a graduation signs category already here, but if you do not have a category or you do not see one that fits this order form, you can actually create a new category on the fly by selecting create a new category. The category, product category comes up. You can provide a name. And so I might just, for the sake of this, create a new one called graduation signs so that you can see how this is made new. If you happen to have an external link that you would rather have this category go to, you can put that here. And if you have more questions about this, you can let me know. But for this purpose, we're not going to have an external link. We want people to actually go to the order form that I'm creating.
And I think it's important to point out here too in the category section is by default, the order forms that you start with, they're really categorized kind of product focused, but in the middle of this pandemic, just what you're doing right here, it makes sense in a lot of cases to make that category event focused, whether event is coronavirus or the event is 2020 graduation or the event is whatever is appropriate. The categories give that flexibility so you can really dial in that category name to whatever the reason is that someone would come to your website.
Good point. Thank you, Dave, for mentioning that. The info tab, excuse me, there's introductory text that if you add an image and introductory text, then this category will show up on your website. So you really want to make sure you have a little bit of information about the category and that you also provide an image. So I'm just going to quick put down graduation signs as an introductory text. We encourage you to add more, but I don't want to get too deep here. And then under image, this is where you can select an image that you may have in your computer, or if you may have used a prior one. I'm just going to quick use our marketing ideas for printers. We have a little image here, icon. SEO options, you can add information about SEO. If you have a promo code, you can apply a promo code at a category level. I'm going to go ahead and select save. And now this order form is assigned to this new category I just created called 2020 graduation signs. If you have one or more product images, you can certainly go through and add some additional product images if you'd like. I'm just going to add one other one here. Again, you would have probably a picture of an actual graduation sign, but I'm going to use our marketing ideas for printers. We have another image here. Sample PDF. If you happen to add a sample PDF, and I'm going to add one quick, this shows up right above the quantity question in the order form. Some people have asked about this. You add the sample PDF, you can give this a title. So I'm just going to say test PDF, and then you would select add PDF. This is just to give you a feel for how this order form can be set up and what shows up. Add a production PDF. There's a little help question bubble about this. This is a static file that comes into your workflow when your print buyers place an order from this website. Your print buyers would not see this production PDF. So if you would like to provide one here that comes into the order, into workflow, when they place an order, you may add a production PDF. And then going down a little bit more.
About the PDF, the sample PDF too. I'm always a big fan of having that product image there as the first kind of that first stop, because if you think about that from your print buyer's perspective, if you get that web-friendly image there, just like you showed there, Trish, that's going to get it in front of their eyes right away. Whereas that sample PDF, yeah, there's a place for that. There's no question about that. There can be a place for that. But for your customers to get there, they got to hit that mouse one more time. And you know how lazy people can be these days. That one extra mouse click, it's like, yeah, did that just become worth it? Get that web-ready image in front of them. It's a very buyer-friendly approach to the order form. Have that PDF there if there's a reason for that. But absolutely get that web-friendly image so it's there right when they come in.
Good point, Dave. Thank you for pointing that out. Going down to specifications, if this order form has a specific size, material or paper, and an ink, You may certainly fill this in as much or as little as you would want. This will show up near the top of the order form, right below the description. And so again, I know that I had mentioned that's an 18 by 24 order form up here. And so I'm gonna, again, for purposes of showing you this, we're gonna put the size in here. The paper, we can just say Coroplast as an example, and the ink, you can put 4/4 for full color, whatever you feel is necessary. I'm gonna select save. So maybe you're
And
wondering,
that's another too, where I'd also encourage you, just what you said, you're exactly right. Put whatever text you want, but be thinking buyer-friendly words there.
Buyer-friendly.
So all of us can talk 4/4 all day long and know what that means, but for your customers, what you just put in there, Trish, is the perfect words, full color. I would encourage you, as you're creating those order forms, think buyer-friendly words, just like you did there.
thank you for letting our folks know. I saved this quick. I'm gonna view the order form just to show you what it looks like so far. Now again, I chose an image I just had quick on my computer, but if I had more than one image for the order form, there'd be an arrow and they could cycle through it. And I believe it cycles through itself as well. Here's the name of the order form. I had told the specifications down here, the size, the paper, and the ink. Up here is that description that I provided in bold. And then I mentioned I had added a PDF. If you feel the need, it does show up here in the order form where they can click on it and then it'll, depending on their browser, open up and or download. So again, the only thing that I've done so far is edit the product info tab. The quantity question is always a default that shows up automatically, but we're gonna start populating this order form with a few questions so that you can see how it can be built out. So if I go back to the tab for my order form and click on questions and answers, you have the ability to leave this radio button where your print buyers can enter in the desired quantity, or you can actually set up quantity breaks and put pricing for these quantity breaks as well. A lot of business cards, you'll see this set up as well, 250, 500, and so forth. For this purpose, with graduation signs, I'm not going to use the quantity break option, but I wanted to let you know that that is available to you. I'm going to let the print buyers enter in their desired quantity. Also, if you would like a default quantity to show up in the quantity box on the order form, you can add a default quantity. I'm going to leave that blank as well. And now, again, this is a brand new order form. There are no questions and answers down here. You get to build this to your print buyer specifications. So for instance, add a question, text input. Perhaps you need to know the name of the person that they want on the graduation sign. So I've seen a lot of these where they ask for a name. Maybe they want to put a class or anything of that nature. We're just going to quick create a question and call it name. The toggle here means if this is required or not. Is this required to be answered before the order is placed? I'm going to leave it not required. We'll say that's an option. I'm going to add another question, and I'm actually going to go into use a global question or element. With our order forms, we provide, and I don't remember offhand, Dave, I would say at least 5 to 10 global questions that we have set up for you that you can use on order forms. And what a global question allows you to do is once it's already been added, and that's for another webinar, but once a global question has been created, I should say, you can add it to any order form and you do not have to remake it time and time again. It's kind of a one and done. You create it and it's there for you to choose to use on any order form you wish. So I'm going to select use a global element or question, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to add comments, which is considered a multi-line text input. This will give your print buyers the ability to add a comment if they need to let you know more information about their order. So it's just an option. I'm not going to keep it required. Again, it's optional if they need to fill in anything. This little globe here, and I'll zoom in, it's a darker gray. And if you hover over it, it says this is a global question. That is another indication to you whether a question is a global question or not. So the one above it is light gray. It says make global. That means it is not a global question. The one below it says this is a global question, and it's dark gray. So I just want to point that out in case you're wondering what that is. I know we're getting short on time, but I'm going to add a couple more questions here. I'm going to add another global question. One that we have in here is called a file transfer type of question. This will allow your print buyers to add a file to their order. Maybe they want to put their graduate senior photo on there or whatever it is. We're gonna not have that required. Once you add questions, you can actually drag and drop and move the order of these questions as well. You can go back in and you can edit these. You can delete them if you actually made one you didn't need to, that you need to make. So there's a lot of options as you're adding on. One more that I'll quick add here. Under global question is considered a job name. This allows your print buyers to assign a job name to this order. And I'm gonna make that required. I wanna make sure that they enter in a job name before they place this order. And I'm gonna move that up here right above the comment section. Again, moving these orders is up to you. And maybe one more question. We have a specialized input called turnaround times. How quickly do you need this order? I'm just gonna call it turnaround time. And I'm gonna click create question. But again, you can go back in if needed. You can edit each of these answers. You can delete any that are not applicable to you and make sure that this reflects your print shop process. So we're gonna save question and I'm gonna make this required. They have to fill out how soon do they need this to be produced here. And I'm gonna save. Let's go back and refresh this order form and let's see what's been built out. Again, here's that quantity question. I left it in where a print buyer can type in a quantity. Maybe you want to put a name on there that can show up on the graduation sign. What is the job name? They fill in job name and then comments. If there's any comments they need to let you know, they can fill it in here in this multi-line text input. Files, this is where they can go to their computer and they can browse and attach a file. Last but not least, turnaround times. Again, this is editable on the back end where I just was editing under questions and answers. You can allow them to choose any turnaround time, then they would add to cart. So back under questions and answers, again, you're able to add questions. I didn't add answers to a radio style. I know that's pretty common. Perhaps you need to say how many lines needed, just as an example. Maybe they want to parse out the high school name, the name of their graduate into multiple lines. And just as a quick example, each line is its own answer and it says one item per line. We're going to say create question. And then we're going to save the question. I'm going to move this up here right below the name question. I'm going to make this required. We're going to refresh the order form. And there is that radio type style of question right there that you're used to. This could have been made a pull down question as well. I just chose radio style as an example. So this order form is really starting to be built out. There's more that I could get into, and that might be a cutoff for another webinar, but you can add an image that shows up, a divider line. There's a lot more that can be added to an order form to really get your message across and make sure that your print buyers know ABC 1, 2, 3, this is exactly what I need to answer, and make sure that it's entered in correctly for them.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to make too, is these order forms can be as simple or as complex as you want them to be. And we're kind of blasting through it just because of the time limits that we have, but I hope that you're seeing that there's just a lot of flexibility. Even what you just said there, Trish, just by adding some of those, for lack of a better way of saying it, I guess, more decorative elements, where the lines in between to add a little more structure, or some of the instructional text, that all helps. And that all comes together to make that order form. And remember, just like any website, no website is ever done. So try to fight the urge to make it so incredibly perfect that you never quite push that launch button, because sometimes good enough is good enough. We always want to aim for perfection, of course, but sometimes it's just need to get that order form out there. And so along those lines, just even where you're at right now, that message that shows this order form is currently inactive, that's the other part that I wanted to touch on too, and you did already at the very beginning, but I think it'd be a good way to wrap it up too, is right now, as from your view as a printer using the website, you can work on this form and mold it and get it looking to where it is that good enough to launch point, and you can see exactly what that's going to look like, and your customers won't see what it's look like, what it let me say it again, your customers won't see it on your website until you push that one last magic button right there, that activate form
Activate
button.
form. Right on.
Trish, you did wonderful work here, and I'm just, again, always amazed at how quickly the time passes. I think that's a cue for me not to jabber as much in the beginning so we can get to your stuff right away there. But this is a good topic here, and for our visitors, if you have more questions on that, let us know. We're always happy to help, of course. And like I said the last few times, I think some of you are getting a little bit lazy because we're about ready to get that survey, and I've noticed people dropping off for that survey. So please do us a favor, stick around for that survey. It can be as little as 5 seconds just to fill that out. But there's also more opportunities for you to go deeper if you need a little extra help or have suggestions for future topics, because that's where we get the topics like the ones that we're talking about today. It's from your feedback, and we want to serve you, and this is your opportunity to help us know how we can best do that. So keep those engines revving, keep that gas pouring in the tanks. We're getting through this. We are getting through this together. There's optimism, and we're all getting through it at different paces, at different stages, but we're getting there. We're moving through it together. Thanks for joining us on today's webinar. Trish, thanks for taking us through this. We'll get our cameras off and let you wrap it up.
Anytime. Thank you.